Yesterday, I was walking yesterday evening. I've been trying to take Autumn for an evening stroll at about 8 o'clock. And I don't know, it just kind of feels so pleasant to do before bed. I think there are times that I usually start getting ready for bed at 8. That doesn't mean that sometimes I don't go to bed. Oftentimes I don't go to bed until 11. So like at 8 o'clock, I'll like go in my room, I'll start listening to an audio book and maybe do some sort of craft or something like that. And that's how I wind down. Well, it's so nice outside in the evenings, and I've been trying to exercise more. In fact, I got an app, which is unusual for me. I think I mentioned this before. I got an app called Walk Fit, and I think it's called like Tai Chi walking or something like that. But it's so perfect for my stroke recovery and my vestibular condition. Like, it really just encourages slow, low effort movement and exercise to burn calories. And then on the side, as you know, longtime listeners, that I like to do different kinds of strength training. So there's been times that for a long time, actually, I did push-ups every night before bed. I don't, I stopped doing that because my back was hurting so bad. So I changed now to I have free weights in my bathroom. Yes, in my bathroom. And they sit on the bathroom counter, and after I brush my teeth every night, I do arm exercises, particularly the one where you have the arm weights behind you and lift forward above your head to get this junk that's on what do you call that? The bottom of my bicep. Um so I do that and I do curls, and so that's my exercise. I've totally strayed from the topic. So I was walking, and what I was thinking to myself was how living with a vestibular disorder is associated, like how we apply Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it's something that I'd heard about, in life, I guess in school or something like that. But when I entered into stroke recovery, it really resonated with me, really resonated because I didn't have a lot of spoons to spend in any given day. So it was like, I need to take care of my, physical needs before and my safety before I can spend my spoons by applying them to being a part of a community, self-esteem, filling up my cup if we go back to spoon and cup theory. So, yesterday, our neighbors in our new neighborhood came by with two of their kids and their baby, and they brought us homemade zucchini bread with her mother's homegrown zucchini. Her mother lives across the street, like down the street. And my husband and I were just so touched that this woman. So if you listened to my episode a couple days ago, you would know that we had a big ass tree fall in our yard. Or it fell from our yard into our neighbor's yard, and it just inches missed not hitting anything. And so I did a podcast on that and how that really represented for me that lack of control and like recognizing that if I don't get involved, some things just work out exactly the way that they should. And so after our tree fell on their yard, I had been communicating with them about taking care of it, and they were talking about the landlord taking care of it, all these things. It's all worked out. It went as smoothly as you could possibly imagine. Anyway, they show up at our door yesterday with homemade zucchini bread, and it's like the whole family came, and the little girls were so excited to be the one to hold the zucchini bread to hand it to us and stuff, and their baby is just like 3 months old, 2 months old, something like that, little tiny little precious baby. And so they show up, this family with the baby, and I was just so touched. And so while we're taught, they didn't know that I had had a stroke. They didn't know that I was in medical retirement. There's no way that they would really know because I am, I look normal, as normal as I could look. How normal are any of us, really? So I mentioned to them that because she was talking about work and how she wants to, I think she gave her 2 weeks and she's gonna stay home and take care of the baby. And I even told her about my podcast. So hi, if you're listening. I'm never gonna say your name, okay, on the podcast, but I'm just referencing you. Anyway, she was talking about her job. So I mentioned that I had had a stroke and I had to leave my job, um, and I said what my disorder was and that I have an intolerance for movement. And when I was talking about that, it's hard to explain what the disorder is in just a sentence, like an elevator pitch. It's hard to say what it is and really convey the the pain that I deal with on a daily basis, and how I've had to really change the way that I live. And apparently what happened, and I wasn't paying attention, was that my husband said she can't watch TV because I listed a couple things that I can't do, like I can't run, I can't ride a bike, I can't drive, I can't open my eyes in the car. And he said, I didn't hear this, but this is what he told me later. She can't watch TV. And he said that he noticed like that was when there was a little more like understanding, like, oh, it's that bad, kind of thing. Anyway, when I was out walking Autumn after that and winding down for the evening, what I was thinking was this how does Maslow's hierarchy of needs apply to what I can and can't do? And like I said, it's I'm probably going to reference that spoon and cup theory that I wrote a blog about and did a podcast episode about. And just to recap for all of you new listeners, because we've got a lot of new listeners, the spoon and cup theory is something that I really customized for living with chronic pain, living with this sort of disability that is permanent and really difficult to navigate sometimes on a daily basis because I'm going to wake up on any given day with, and this is from spoon theory, with a certain number of spoons that I can spend. Spoons represent energy, the energy that I have to do things, with respect to my disability and my pain. Spoons, I'm going to wake up with a certain amount of spoons, and I need to be very thoughtful about how I'm going to spend those spoons. Um, so, for example, if I want to take Autumn to the dog park, then it might very well be that I'm not going to have enough spoons to walk my dog to the dog park and hang out with her there and walk back and then still have the ability, the spoons, the energy to make dinner that night. And that's the direct effect on how my activities every day deplete my energy very directly. I think that it's something that happens to all of us, even people without a disability, without chronic pain, without some sort of um, illness that makes it more apparent. We all have a certain amount of spoons to use every day. And how are we going to spend it? For example, like my neighbor who just had their baby, she's got a certain amount of spoons she can use every day. And a lot of them are being used for taking care of the baby. So how many spoons does she have left to make dinner for the family, for, doing things that she wants to do? And that's where like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs comes in, and that's where the cup part of the spoon and cup theory comes in. Um, we've got this cup that represents what we want to do, what makes us happy, what nurtures our joy in our life and brings joy to the surface. Um, I have a certain amount of spoons that I can spend, and some days I don't have enough to do anything I want to do. I only have enough spoons to get up, make myself some breakfast, and then lay back down. I don't have enough spoons to walk Autumn. Some days I don't have enough spoons to pick up a paintbrush and paint or do any one of my thousands of crafts. So being able to be self-aware enough to use the spoons that I need to take care of my physical needs, to take care of navigating my environment safely, which is very real in my stroke recovery with this vestibular disorder, and I'll get into that. But then having the spoons to participate in my relationships and cultivate that love and belonging, and then having enough spoons to be independent and capable. And then finally, having enough spoons for self-actualization, which is the tip top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. How many, do I have enough spoons to build a meaningful life for myself? So, yeah, I was out walking and I was thinking about how, um, my husband said, well, she can't watch TV. And that was when things were like, oh, oh, it's that bad. And I thought it takes what it takes to help people understand what I'm going. You can't just tell somebody what it's like to live with a vestibular disorder. I think that the only one who truly understands what I deal with on a daily basis is my husband, of course, because he sees me and he's the one who knows that I need to tell her before I turn the light on and off. If she's in the room, I have to say, watch your eyes, before I turn the light on and before I turn the light off, because I have to close my eyes if he's going to turn the light on or turn the light off. Because if I don't, I get pain in my head when that change happens. It's so abrupt when the light goes on and off that it causes pain in my head. Um, and it's probably the pain, the heightened pain lasts for maybe about 5 seconds and then it starts going back down. So it's not very long, but I don't need to deal with that, you know? So he understands that these little things, you know, when I get up in the morning and I'm feeding the dogs and then I grab the water pitcher out of the refrigerator to go fill up the dog water bowl because yes, they get filtered cold water. Um, I have to, when I open the refrigerator door, I have to shut my eyes. And so I do it without looking because once again, when I open the refrigerator, that change in light hurts my head. So when I think of having a vestibular disorder and applying Maslow's hierarchy of needs with regard to like, how many spoons do I have? Um, how can I fill my cup today? Sometimes I can't fill my cup at all, you know? So the first part, applying my spoons to my physical needs, like I need to make sure that I have enough spoons to feed myself. I need enough spoon and even that like we're gonna pretend like my husband is not here because of course he will step in and do everything for me if I need it. But what I'm talking about is just looking at like living an independent life. So the first thing I need to do is make sure I have enough spoons during my day to feed myself, to be able to walk to the bathroom. And yes, that's a real thing. That's a real thing that I need to make sure I can do. Um, Make sure that, you know, my best case scenario, I don't have to use my walking sticks to walk to the bathroom. And I can get it's bad enough if I don't take care of myself and I use my spoons in the wrong way, I can get to the point where I can only walk to the bathroom if I use my walking sticks. And I did get to that point over the past, I guess it's been a month now, where I wasn't taking care of myself. I can't remember at this point, I can't remember what I was doing that got me to that point. I can't remember now. You guys might remember, but I don't remember. Anyway, so making sure that I have enough spoons that I can walk independently to the bathroom. Um, Making sure I have enough spoons to to take care of my dog's physical needs, to feed them and take them out to go to the bathroom. So all of these small things take spoons because all of them are, sorry, I'm at a loss for words. All of them require visual effort. It doesn't seem like it for somebody who doesn't have this disorder. It doesn't seem like what's the effort? Like nothing's moving, right? Nothing's moving when you go make yourself food. Yeah, I'm moving. Everything's moving. My hands are moving. Everything is always moving. And any movement causes a visual a visual reaction, a painful reaction. Like my headache is always dynamically, you know, it's going up and down. And so all of it, navigating all of those simple things to take care of my physical needs impacts my health. And sometimes just closing my eyes is as necessary as sitting down when I'm exhausted. Like, yeah. I mean, that's really all I can say about it. I'm I'm challenged for words right now. Let's move on to number two. So the second one is safety. So I need to make sure I have enough spoons to navigate my environment. So we know that driving is no longer possible for me. Walking. So now we've got past physical needs. If I have enough spoons, I am going, this girl's going outside for a walk and I'm bringing Autumn with me. So that's where safety is involved. So the past 2 days, I've been walking Autumn more so on Tuesday than yesterday. When I was walking, and I shared this with you, I had to soften my gaze. So it's like I said, it's like when you're looking at somebody and you're talking to them and their eyes glaze over. I do that on purpose. I glaze over on purpose so that it allows me to filter out a lot of my environment. So really what I'm doing is, this is how I tried to explain it. I'm using my eyes for the purpose of knowing where I am in space, that I'm, you know, up and down, meaning I'm not falling, like making sure I don't fall over and stuff like that. So I'm simply using my eyes to be able to do the task at hand, which is walking. And that's when I'm on the verge of risking my safety when I'm out walking. So I purposefully, like Autumn is extremely trained, and I don't know if people see me walking through the neighborhood and see how she behaves, but when cars drive by, Autumn knows how to tuck herself right behind my left side. So I tell her to heel. I mean, it's just healing, but the leash is pulled tight. I'm not pulling on her. The leash is loose between me and her, but we tuck the leash and she tucks her body right behind and to the left of me so that we take up as little space as possible on the side of the road. We're essentially, she's almost walking in my footsteps. That's how tucked we are. And we do that for both of our safety because I try not to, every time a car goes by, try to, how can I best say it? Have that feeling of like, okay, at any given moment, I need to jump out of the way or something like that. Like I am really tucked on the side of the road in the gravel, even, or the grass, whatever's there on the side of the road, so that we are just like not taking up any space. And that's how we stay safe. But I think it's pretty obvious that it's a little more dangerous for me to walk when I have to glaze my eyes over than if I'm able to at least be able to look at something in the distance. So sometimes when I'm walking, I'm not able to do that. I'm not able to look from side to side without feeling not feeling good or being off balance and stuff like that. When when I'm feeling a little bit better, sometimes my husband and I will go to Walmart. Like we went to Walmart this past weekend to get a fishing pole because I'm going to try my hand at fishing. And when we do that, I hold his hand across the parking lot. If we're walking in like if Walmart is busy in a section, then we almost do the same thing. I have him walk in front of me and I almost like tuck behind him so I can just follow in his footsteps. So all of these like navigating environments are going to use my spoons in or deplete my spoons uh, at a different speed and a different amount depending on where we are and where we're going. So even the walking part, I need to prioritize where where I'm walking and when I'm walking, um, depending on how many spoons I have. I don't know if that came across exactly how I wanted to, but on some days I can only walk Autumn down the road. And some days I can only walk her down to the beach and back. Sometimes I can walk her all the way to the park and walk around the park. It really just depends on how I'm feeling that day. So then we get to number three, which is love and belonging. Um, and the best way for me to think of this is like when I got sober, there was a period of time, at least the first year, if not into the second year, and maybe even the third, where I only had the energy and I only had the interest and the awareness to focus on myself. Um, as I became more emotionally sober. In the beginning, it's just getting physically sober. As I got more emotionally sober, I started to have leftovers. I started to have more to give to other people. And I think with a vestibular disorder, it works the same way. So best example I can think of is making dinner. Making dinner. I love to make dinner for my husband. It's something that allows me to give back to him for all that he does for me. And he does a lot for me. Um, yesterday I really wanted to participate in this watercolor class that happens once a month with the Vestibular Disorders Association. But as 4 o'clock approached, I thought, what is going to fill my cup more? So you see, I've gone in just in that transition from spending my foot spoons on safety and making sure that I can navigate my environment safely to love and belonging. And that's where I get to start fill my cup. So I thought when 4 o'clock rolled around, what's going to fill up my cup more? Is it, is it watercolor class or is it giving back? Is it love and belonging? Is it being able to participate in a relationship? And that's what I wanted. Both of them would have been participating in a relationship, but which one is going to make me feel that love and belonging? Um, so that's interesting to think about. So I chose to make dinner. And of course, my husband was like, the next time you are trying to figure out which one you want to do, like, just know I can make my own dinner. Like, I can make dinner for us. And I said, I just told him it's just important to me. It's important to be able to give that. Like now that I'm unable to have a career and be able to give in that way, like financially, I mean, I still receive my disability insurance, but it's different. It's half as much as I was making when I was working. So it's just different. It feels different. Um, so I choose probably, you know, not every time to make dinner for him, but yesterday I did. Yesterday that was what I chose. And so to be able to have enough spoons to do that was important to me. I wouldn't have been able to do both. That I know, so that's interesting. Um, so our disabilities, although a lot of times it feels like it steals so much, it can affect our connections in a surprising way. They may seem very ordinary, but our loved ones don't see it that way. So the next part is esteem. Am I capable still of feeding my own self-esteem? And that's important because having built my identity really around, sorry, I've got to stop right where I'm at because for those of you who are aware of the tree, the gigantic, massive tree that fell, that I was just talking about at the beginning of the episode, they're cutting it up right now. I can hear the chainsaw. So, yay! Okay. Self-esteem. So, having built my identity around my career and then losing my career in the blink of an eye, I woke up that morning believing that I was going to work that day and I was going to continue to work for the rest of my life. And at about, I don't know what time it was, midday, sometime midday, I shut my computer and made the decision that that was it. That was it. And I felt my self-esteem just melt away. Isn't that sad? Like, my independence changed for the rest of my life in an instant. And you would think the instant that it changed was the instant that I had the stroke, but no, there was 2 years of denial and fighting um, that happened before I was able to accept that I was no longer going to be independent. I was no longer going to be capable of the things that I was capable of before. But recovery has really redefined capability for me. So I'm learning how to adapt my skills and my capacity, the amount of spoons I have, to having like a disability. Um, I'm learning how to ask for help and retain self-esteem. That's huge. Um, so that's where I'm I'm respecting how many spoons I have, but I'm also making sure that I'm not depleting my cup by asking for help. Um, and that's been a very challenging but fulfilling journey to figure that out. And then finally, self-actualization. I felt like the time between getting sober and having my stroke, so I was 5 years sober when I had my stroke, that period of time, those 5 years, were when I felt like I was reaching that self-actualization. my abilities changed when I got sober. Not immediately, but they evolved as I got sober. Um, my capacity to think clearly and to do and to interact. And I mean, I was really flying high without drugs and alcohol. Like, I was really being my best self. And oh my gosh, it felt so good. It felt so good. I loved my job. I loved being creative. I loved building these relationships. And I was in love with my job. And I loved how it made me feel to be a part of this community. Like my company, it was a community for me, and we all had a common goal. And I loved it. I loved walking side by side with all of these people on a daily basis. They were just great people. Um, and then when when I had my stroke and I lost that community, yeah, sure, they reached out to me. I mean, they were amazing, amazing. But I lost that ability to envision a future. Literally, I could not envision my future. Um, so building a meaningful life has taken time. It's taken professional help. It's taken over 1,000 episodes for me to understand myself, to understand the purpose. I didn't have to look for purpose. I didn't have to search for, I thought I was. I thought that in early stroke recovery, like, okay, I've got to find my new purpose. I mean, that's how we would simplify it. I need to find my purpose. I didn't have to find my purpose, even though I was looking. My purpose was there waiting for me. Like, my purpose already existed. It just took a different shape when the community that I had been working with, my company, was removed from the picture. What was left was everything that experience in my career gave me. Um, and that's been a really huge realization for me that, and I don't know if I learned this from my psychiatrist or where I heard this in some of my support groups, I'm not sure. But it was, instead of looking at your job as something that you lost, instead of looking at your career as something that you lost, instead look at, what did that part of my life give me? What did that part of my life leave with me? And then once I'm able to see it, I can use it. That's my purpose. It was always there and it's still here. That's my purpose. And the way that that's come out for me is writing my book, recording my podcast, painting, creating, participating in a recovery community. Then that's my community now. Um, and that allows me to continue to learn. All of these things are allowing me to continue to learn. That's one of my values. We have to go back to the values episode. I like to be reminded of what I said my values are, not because they've ever changed, but because I chose the words very thoughtfully, the three values. So I would have to go back and look, or you can Google it. There's an episode on values, determining what your values are, and so on. So, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I think, is lived every day by people with disabilities, people experiencing recovery from medical events, or mental health disorders. We all have to take a look at, what do I have the energy for today? That's your spoons. And then how can I fill my cup? Because I have to do both in order to really reach that self-actualization. I have to be able to balance and juggle my spoons, filling my cup. You know what I'm envisioning? I'm envisioning like, I'm always envisioning something. I'm envisioning Polar Express, and they just got on the train and it's time for hot chocolate, and they're all dancing down the aisle and there's things moving all around, and they're filling up the cups, and there's lots of energy happening. Like, all of that is happening at the same time. It's and in the end I get a nice cozy cup of hot chocolate. That's my life, my meaningful life. That's what comes out in the end. That's what I'm learning is, um I can't just jump to the top of the pyramid. Like, I need to work perfectly, imperfectly. I shouldn't say nothing is perfect. Um, I need to attempt to work perfectly from one end to the other. Um, Working from taking care of my physical needs, taking care of my safety, um, participating in my relationships, and paying, being self-aware enough to sustain my self-esteem on any given day. And that's the challenge. But that's where I reach self-actualization. That's where I reach that meaningful life. Um, and I think, like, I posted on Facebook early this morning the quote, "The more still I am, the more I see." It's something that, so I was writing my book this morning, early in the morning, one of my favorite things to do. And that was something that came out. That was a phrase that came out. The more still I am, the more I see. And so I actually asked Chatty, aka ChatGPT, to has anybody ever like come up with that quote or owned that quote? And he said, like, there are some variations, but no, he couldn't find that anywhere. So I was like, all right, I own it. Anyway, I posted it on Facebook because it inspires me. And and I think, like, with all this said about my Maslow's hierarchy of needs, how do I figure all that out? How do I know what I'm spending my spoons on? And how do I, okay, blah, 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 Rachel, how do I know? Just get still. Just get still. Because it's not like you go up has Maslow's hierarchy of needs and you can't come back down. Like, I have to reevaluate all day long, every day. Do I have the energy for this? Do I have the energy for this? Every time I get up from the chair, I think, am I going to be able to do this safely? To get up and go make myself a smoothie or whatever. So anyway, I thought it was a really interesting concept that I wanted to talk through, and I appreciate you listening. So thanks, and I will talk to you next time.